Initiating system 1.
Ready? Watch out. Oh, see?
System 1 loaded.
I'm not very good at those. I got one of these here. Oh. That's all I got. Yeah. Your time to clap. All right, welcome everybody. Like I said, I can't believe you came back, But this is it's such a critical subject, and I don't see any of the organizers here, but I just want to give a shout out. This is the first conference that picked up this talk, and I am so happy to talk to you about this because I'm going to be talking to you about the number one critical thing I see in all code bases. Every code base I've worked on in the last 15 years. So, and I write about this a lot. It's all on my website. It's all in my coding standards book with the winner of the coding standards book is right back there. Hold it up. Proud. Yeah. All right. I'm David McCarter. I'm a Microsoft MVP, architect, consultant. I'll do whatever you want. Actually, I'm looking for a job, so a new challenge. So if anybody knows anything here, I can come and it will adopt me because, America, it's kind of like spaghetti code right now, isn't it? And I want to come to a place with calmer people and cleaner architecture, and so somebody please sponsor me so I can come here. I'm digging Sweden so far, and I like it. And I have a really good friend that lives here, just like 20 minutes away. All right, and there's how you can get a hold of me. I'm also giving away my technical interview book, which I use every interview I do. That's why it's all in here. And so to win, you need to take a picture of me and post it to Blue Sky with those tags, or just email it to me. And some of you, like the young man who won the Coding Standards book, took pictures, but as I warned you in the last talk, I'm an award-winning photographer, and when you take pictures of me, I mean me, not the slide, okay? So most of the pictures I saw after my talk was all slide little me. So it's all about me, so me, okay? All right. Opening act. That's one of the bands I work for, one of my favorite guitarists of all time. I recently did that this summer in San Antonio, Texas. So I want to tell you a true story, and because all my talks, all my books, all my articles are real stories. I don't make stuff up. I just can't code like that anymore. I've been doing coding for a really long time and done that for 25 years. And I just can't code that shitty anymore. So, and I don't architect shitty anymore either. And so one of my last contracts I was hired on, they were creating a new thing for doctors and nurses, and they were going to first roll it out in India. And I've been to India speaking 4 times, and they had a problem. You know, the first rollout was going to be about 40,000 users. When I got there, they could only have 700 concurrent users on their system, right? And one of the big problems was because of what I'm going to talk to you about. And so I spent 6 months there almost just fixing that. And I got them up to like 7,000, but they're still short. And they decided they couldn't pay me anymore. So I'm too expensive, they said. And I said, okay, whatever. But they had a huge problem because of that. There's no way they could have rolled out, you know, what they were trying to do. And everything I'm talking about, this was all architected by senior people, right? It boggles my mind. But I think because I've been doing .NET ever since before it came out. I learned about the garbage collector. I even had one of the guys who wrote part of the garbage collector at my user group twice, and I learned a ton from him. And while I'll never say I'm an expert, I can say I'm probably a lot better than you. So I hope you listen, pay attention, because I'm tired of fixing your code, right? I like to work on features. I don't like fixing stuff. That doesn't bring me any joy at all. So the number one critical issue I see in projects is the mishandling of disposable objects. You know, I was talking to someone earlier, and I think a lot of newer developers, oh, .NET's great, it takes care of all the management, blah, blah, blah. It's not C++, right? Yeah, it's not C++, but you can still have memory leaks, virtual memory leaks. And this is what brings your projects down. So part of that story, you know, I've done this so many times at companies where I get their code base, I analyze it, and I go back to the manager and I say, so do you have any apps or services on your back end? You have to reboot every once in a while and you don't know why? Every single manager said, yes. And I said, I know exactly the problem you're having. And I fixed it. Did anybody have services they have to reboot, they don't know why? Yeah, you probably don't want to raise your hand, but yeah, there's a few of you, which is great. I'm going to teach you exactly why. So, virtual memory leaks occur, of course, when disposable objects are not properly disposed. You know, even the creator of the garbage collector said they screwed up with the garbage collector when they made it. I've had many long discussions with the internal team at Microsoft to try to fix this. They're not working on it, so it's still left up to us after these many years now. And what happens is when you don't dispose of these things, it just gradually eats up all the memory until everything stops, right? And this can happen on the front end, on the back end, doesn't matter. It will happen if you don't do what I'm about to teach you, okay? Religiously. And what happens is you have a disposable object, you know, this only applies to reference types. All reference types are created on the heap. And then you stop using the object, but it doesn't dispose of whatever it's holding internally, right? And then that just creates GC pressure until your app crashes. That's how it works, okay? Luckily, you know, compared to C++, .NET is a lot safer. You know, people can't hack into that area like they can in C++. So, at this company I've been talking to you about, they had 600 instances where they weren't calling dispose on the objects. I don't think they had even a single one in their entire code base, and they wanted to roll this out in production. Crazy. So they also had 90 types that either didn't properly implement iDisposable or didn't do it at all. Because when you have a type that contains a disposable object inside of it, you have to dispose of it. They weren't doing it at all. So this basically made 2,000 code changes I had to do in those 6 months, right? And which all of those changes had to be tested and get into the main branch, and it was just a nightmare when you fix this a long time after the code was written. If you do this in the beginning correctly, there's no issues. It's cheap. But when you do it later, when you have an issue, it's very, very expensive because you have to pay for me. And I'm not cheap, especially with this stuff, because I'm tired of talking about it. So in this session, we're going to learn how to properly handle disposable types. We're going to learn how to properly implement disposable types. And I'm going to teach you how to find those issues, right? I can find them. I don't need anything. I'm .NET Dave, right? I can look at your code base and I know exactly where the issues are. But there are tools now that can help you. Actually, only one, unfortunately, because Visual Studio is not going to help you at all. So, the proper handling of disposable types. In .NET 10, there's actually over 1,000 types that use iDisposable somehow. 1,000. Whenever I do a unit test of my open source project, Spartan, it creates a file that tells me all this stuff, because I like to keep up with it. So, how do you know if your object's disposable? Well, you know, back in the beginning days of .NET, and I kind of still do this, is, you know, when I'm done using the object, I do .d and see if dispose comes up, right? If it comes up, that means I have to use a using statement, right? The other way you can do it is you just go to the definition, right-click on the type, select go to definition, and you can see if it implements iDisposable, right? Those are the two best ways that I do it. If I'm unsure, then I go to the definition, but usually I just do .d. And that's how I found out. But, like I said, since I've been using .NET for 25 years, I pretty much know a lot of those types, and I know a lot of those types you commonly use that you don't do it right, okay? So, to give you some tips, I'm gonna go through this really quick. Anything that ends with stream, reader, or writer is disposable, okay, in .NET. You can guarantee, I'm going to show you some examples. You can guarantee those things are disposable. Graphics. Even before .NET, I was bit by this in Visual Basic. Bitmaps, graphics, fonts, brushes, pens, icons, images, they are all disposable. And those are the worst types if you don't dispose. Those things will bring down your program quick, okay? There's more databases, TCP client, HTTP client handler, SQL command, data table, data set. Did you know data table is disposable? Yeah. SQL connection, all those things are disposable. Mail message, SMTP client, those are disposable. I have this list of common stuff I see over and over again. All the hashing stuff is disposable, right? Timer, file system watcher, deflate, JSON document, all those things are disposable, okay? So, here's the issue. This isn't real code because I just took it from my open source project, but I made it bad to show you. Well, no, this is right. That's right. It's from my own project. This is correct. So to properly handle disposable objects, you just use the using statement, okay? And in the using statement definition, that's when your object is created. And when it hits the end of the code block, it's disposed automatically for you. Does anybody know how that works internally? No? All that does is do a try finally. That's it. There's no magic behind it. So the using statement wasn't around in the beginning of .NET. And we had to do try finally everywhere. So they finally put this shortcut in, and that's all using does. You can go look at the source code. It's in my book. It's in the book that guy won. And so that's it. That's how easy this is. And I don't understand why people don't do it. It's crazy. So when you do that, of course, you create the object, it's created in the heap, you dispose of it, it releases everything it's handling, and then you have a stable app. You know, my open source project only has one disposable object, and all that does is clean up an internal list of files it's handling. That's all it does. So that one isn't really a big resource hog, but when you use other types, which I will show you, that's where you get into some real issues. So there's also hidden issues. So I know, and I used to be like this, but I'm not anymore, but I know a lot of you like to cram as much stuff on one line, you know, without using proper curly braces and things like that. So if this is the fake one I made from my open source project, if you're deserializing, you know, XML, using the XML serializer, and you're lazy and you just do a new string reader, right, in the deserialize call, well, guess what? String reader is disposable. And guess what? That will never be disposed of, ever. Okay? Because deserialize isn't going to dispose it for you, right? You have to, right? You have a disposable type. It's your responsibility to do it, okay? So this is bad, bad, bad. And in that code base I've been mentioning, this was everywhere, right? So the fix for this is just to new up a using statement right before that and use a string reader, right? Okay, first section done. That's the easy section, I think, kind of. Any questions really quick? Yeah, you guys didn't yell loud enough in my first talk either, you know. I'm gonna have to come back and teach you how to yell like a heavy metal guy like me. I can't yell like I did in my 20s. So, the next thing I want to talk about is properly implementing iDisposable. So rule of thumb, if your type holds a disposable field, that type is responsible for disposing it, no other type, okay? So you have to do what I'm about to show you. Like I said, you own it, you dispose it. So this ensures that all the underlying resources, streams, connections, whatever you're using in your type are properly released, okay? Super, super important when you create this type. And like I said, with that project I worked on, they had 90 types that didn't do this correctly or at all, okay? And that's why they had so many issues. And this prevents virtual memory leaks, handle exhaustion, unpredictable runtime stuff. So it's all good all around. So the problem is, and this is real, they had a class called something like PDF Streamer. I always change the name so I don't get sued. And they were newing up a memory stream at the top of their class, just like that, right? And then they were using it further down the road. Well, guess what? Now memory stream is not going to be disposed of in this scenario. And this is where you're going to get a virtual memory leak. So the fix, how do you fix this? Well, first, you need to add the iDisposable interface to that type, right? And also create a private bool dispose variable, which we'll use in a second. That's it. I mean, that's step one at least. Now, you need to create a dispose method using that will take that disposing variable If it's already disposed, then you just return because it's bad to try to dispose something twice, right? You will really run into issues then, okay? And then if it's disposing, you do stream dot dispose, and you set dispose to true. That's it. This is simple, guys, girls, gals, you know, this is simple, but why aren't you doing this? Maybe you're better in Sweden, prove it to me. And then step 3 is to create the public dispose method, which developers are supposed to use, right? And this is what the using statement uses. So you just do a public void, dispose, a dispose true, a GC suppress finalizer, okay? In the sample I showed you, there's not a finalizer, and you should avoid finalizers as much as you can. But I always stick this finalizer in there just in case. Somebody adds a finalizer later, and I don't have to worry. Some junior programmer adds a finalizer, I don't really have to worry about it. Because what happens, one of the big issues is that, you know, when the garbage collector kicks in to dispose of the objects that don't have any roots anymore, what it does is it looks at the disposable objects, and it looks at that, actually takes them out of the process, right? And then disposes of all the non-disposable objects. At the next garbage collection, that's when those disposable objects will be disposed of, okay? So you're waiting 2 garbage collections to get rid of that, okay? If you use GC suppress finalizer, it will happen in the first one, okay? So you get rid of those objects as fast as you can because you don't want them hanging around because you don't know when the garbage collector is going to do another collection, right? When does the garbage collector do a collection? Whenever it freaking feels like, right? Because you have no control over it, okay? It does whatever it wants. Now, the garbage collector is a lot better since the beginning days of .NET, and they've done a lot of stuff to help make this go faster. But if you spend any time with a profiler, you can see this happening, okay? So, because of this issue, and because of developers who don't really understand this, you know, back a while ago in Spargin, I actually created an extension method that works with any type, any disposable type, called dispose fields. And what dispose fields does is it looks at all your fields, it checks if any of those fields are using implements iDisposable and disposes it automatically for you. You don't have to write lines of disposable codes and stuff like that, okay? This method in Spargin will do it for you. If you don't want to use Spargin, just copy my code and put it in your project. I don't care. That's what open source is all about, right? It's not like I get paid for this stuff. I mentioned the company at my last talk you all at, where I got them through the Black Friday and Cyber Monday and everything. And I saw those developers do something I've never really seen before. And they were putting into a collection typically 10,000 iDisposable objects in a collection, okay? And I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw this because I have never coded that. I've never thought of doing that, but they were doing it. It was scary because none of that gets garbage collected properly, okay? So dispose fields also calls another extension method in Spargin that if it's a collection, I look at your collection, and if there's any iDisposable types in your collection, I will dispose of it for you. Okay, so dispose fields will cover everything you need, okay? So like I said, use my Spargin project. I really hope you do. I'm working on the .NET 10 version of it right now, but the .NET 8 version's out now. So I hope you go check it out. And if you like it, contribute. I want people to help me. So The other thing is, if your type inherits a disposable type, and then your type has a disposable object in it, then you have to do this, right? You have to do a new bool disposing, right? Because you need to cover up theirs. And then you need to dispose of your stream, and then you call base.dispose, which will dispose of that type, okay? So I don't see this very much, but I have seen it, okay? So be careful of that. If you inherit stream reader, then you have to do something like this. If your type has a disposable object. If your type doesn't have a disposable object, you don't need to do this at all, because it will happen with the stream reader. And if you have any async disposable types, then you need to implement async disposable, which pretty much works the same way as just what I showed you before, okay? I haven't written anything like this, but I've seen it, okay? So be careful. So just remember, the garbage collection isn't a janitor, it's just a trash truck, right? It's just there to take out the trash, but you have to take out the trash, okay? And I hope I'm getting that through, because this is really, really important. Okay, any questions about implementing iDisposable? No? You learned it all, it's perfect, you can go fix all your projects Monday, right?
Some of your library that have these extension windows to easy how to implement iDisposable. Is it using reflection to do that? Or?
Yes, it's using reflection. Yeah, so it's not the fastest thing in the world, but it works, right? My plan soon is to do a source generator that will do it for you. I have considered it, I just haven't had time to work on it. Yeah, so yes. Any others? Okay. You need more questions because I'm gonna end early. Because this is easy stuff. And I just don't understand why I see this in every single code base I've worked on in 15 years, since I stopped being a full-time software engineer. I mean, a perm at a company, right? Every single project I've worked on has this. So like I said, maybe you Sweden people are better than Americans, but Americans suck at this.
When you implement dispose method, you follow a pattern, and I've seen it suggested by Visual Studio. If you don't have a sealed class, but you have a dispose, and you pass a boolean to it, but I don't really understand why it's necessary.
So he's asking, if it's sealed, it tells you to do iDisposable?
No, if you're sealed class, it doesn't. You don't have the requirement that you need to implement dispose with that where it passes a boolean.
No, false, completely false. No, that doesn't work. Yeah. So he's saying if it's sealed, you don't need to do the dispose method. Is that what you're saying?
No. The dispose, that takes the boolean as an argument. The pattern, I really don't.
Oh, it's saying that you don't need the Boolean. I'll have to look into that, but I don't think that is correct. Because you have to pass in the Boolean just in case someone calls dispose twice, because I've seen that happen too, and if you don't use the Boolean and you try to dispose of that disposable object twice, it might likely blow up on you. Yeah, so if you have a link, send that to me, because Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, no. And don't listen to Copilot either. Copilot, I say this all the time. Copilot is a junior programmer. A Copilot has a lot of book smart, but no experience. And it writes shitty code, right? That doesn't even compile. So be really careful if whatever Visual Studio Copilot says, it's not always correct.
The reasoning behind having dispose with the devouring is to make sure that it's not disposed twice.
Yes, yeah. And all of you who came to my code performance talk, and this is just good object-oriented programming, but most of your types should be sealed, right? Unless you purposely make that type inheritable, seal it, right? Because it actually can affect performance positively, okay? So most types should be sealed, most types should be internal, right? Only the types you want to purposely expose out of your assembly should be public. Sealed is a different thing, okay? It's not part of this talk, but I see this all the time. All right, so now, if you're not me, how do you find, where these issues are, right? So, when I was working on this project, remember that project with 700 issues? When I was working on it, I ran a bunch of other programs to see, if it would correctly tell me the number of disposable issues, right? Remember, I found 900 by myself, okay? No tools. Not a single tool came even close. Visual Studio Analyze, 0. SonarLint, 25. ReSharper, 3. EnDepend, which is a pretty good app, 72. CodeRush, which is the refactoring tool I use, 0, right? This is a really big problem. None of these work, right? And this is why I recently had a one-on-one conversation with the architect of C#, since he's a friend of mine from Denmark. And I told him, I basically told him, you guys need to fix this. There's got to be a better way that you can do this internally. And I was hoping I'd see something in .NET 10, but no. So, how do you find the issues if you're not me? Well, the only tool that works most of the time is a package called iDisposable Analyzers that's pretty new. Okay, I can't remember when they released this, but it's only been out for a small number of years. Okay, this is the only tool that will get you most of the way. Okay, what it finds is missing using statements, those 600 issues, improper handling of iDisposable objects, incorrect implementation of iDisposable. Remember that project had 90? It'll find those, okay? And it will detect iDisposable usage in non-iDisposable types. This happens, developers do this too, okay? When I was working on that project, I added this to every single one of the projects, right? And every project I've written since then, I do this. This is the first package I add to any project I create, right? Because this will tell me, without me having to root through all the code, where most of the issues are, okay? So I kind of jumped ahead. I add this to every single project, and as soon as you get out of this, as soon as Monday rolls around, please add this. And when you do add this, please send me an email. I want to know how many things it found, right? Because I know how many things it's found with me, but I want to see more metrics than just me, okay? Please email me, okay? And I'll bring you something next time I come if they invite me back. So, like I said, no negative things today at the keynote, okay? You know, I'm afraid to even go. So now you're going to do it just to piss me off, right? All right. One more thing to talk about. The only way to find everything is to do memory I'm getting tired. Memory profiling on your project as nearest to production as you can. Okay? How many people here do memory profiling? Wow, I am moving to Sweden. Because I have yet to work at a company that will let me do this, because they don't see the value. So I do it on my own time for companies, because literally they won't put it in the schedule, which is beyond me, okay? And those of you who are doing memory profiling know what I'm talking about. So the memory profiler that I've been recommending ever since I've been talking about this is the .NET Memory Profiler. Okay, it's made, I forget which country it's made in. It works really, really well. I like it better than, what's that other one? Peak. There's another one I tested. I forget, but anyway, I like this one the best. I just love sitting there and watching the graph, you know, the garbage collections happen and all that stuff. I do that a lot. So, and this is from real projects here. You can see here that it found undisposed instances, and it actually tells you the types that it found. It basically saying where those aren't being released correctly, okay? It'll also show you stuff like WPF binding memory leaks and source memory leaks, find all that stuff. It'll find disposed instance issues and indirect delicate roots and lots of more. You know, why companies put up software without doing this before release is, again, beyond me. Because this is the only way to find all the issues in your code. And I just don't mean disposable issues. I mean other issues too. I've even gone to Microsoft, you know, and because, you know, I didn't put it in here, but part of the reporting shows you a graph, and you can go up the graph and you can actually find where it originally happened, right? And sometimes it's in .NET stuff. And when I, you know, as a Microsoft MVP, I go to Seattle once a year for a week, and I've told them about this. And I go, hey, do you know you have a memory leak in this? So you can find everything. And the cool thing that I can't remember if the other profilers do this, but the cool thing, and this of course takes more time, is you can actually look at the objects and what those objects are holding in memory when you're doing this kind of profiling, okay? So please add that package to all your projects, and before you release, please run this. Please memory profile. I think it's a critical step, and only a few of you here do it. It's critical to do this before you release. Now, those of you who do profiling know it's very, very time consuming, okay? It takes a lot of time to really find out what the actual issues are, okay? So, you know, my suggestion is and you don't have to buy a license for all your developers, only the developer or a few of developers who knows how memory works in .NET, okay? And those are the people who should be doing this, but it takes a lot of time, okay? There's no easy way of doing it. But it's completely well worth the effort. All right, closing act. This is one of my other bands I work for. Every time they come into town, Queensryche, I mentioned in the last talk, every one of those members have my pictures on their walls at home. And I love hanging out with them. Actually, I had right before he went on stage, after they kicked out the original singer, Jeff Tate, I had an hour talk with him right before he went on stage in Southern California, and we were talking like we were friends. It's really cool. I love working for bands. Well, most of them. I have met some assholes. So, wrap up. Remember, dispose responsibly. Always release disposable objects. I hope I'm getting that through your heads. Implement iDisposable correctly in the types that hold disposable fields or disposable types. Automatic detection, yeah, use iDisposable analyzers. I hope I see a lot of downloads coming Monday, okay? I'll go check it out. And please validate and run memory profiling against your system, okay? Memory leaks burn your app down faster than a bad solo. I could do solos, but I'm not that great at it, so I know what that means. So everything I just told you about in detail is in my new coding standards book. It's that guy back there, Scott. So go make friends. Or go buy one, please. Like I said, I need a new laptop. All right, here's some resources for you. My book, of course. I have a 3-part series on my website talking about all this. Check out Spargin, my open source library. I also created a really easy iDisposable template. You can just copy and paste right into your type, and you're done, basically, except for wiring up the actual type that needs to be disposed. Okay? Because I see people implement iDisposable all the time, and most of it is incorrect, right? But my template is correct. Thanks a lot, and have a great rest of Øredev.